Well, podcasts are the best form of marketing, number one form. They're the most efficient, meaning that you could literally only have a podcast, which we've proved, and have no other marketing, and you could generate all of your leads from that. Right now, you have to do it in a specific way.
Today, I am really honored to have Ryan with us. I stumbled onto podcasting. This was a bit of a, I don't know how I got here. And today, for the first time, not only will Ryan share how podcasting works with LinkedIn, but he's also going to help me out with a few things for sure, because I have a lot to learn. So, Ryan, we always like to start this out with one question. What do you think our audience will learn? Will they get out at the end of this?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're tuning in right now, or even tuning in on the recording, what we're going to talk through is the reality of podcasting, not the sensationalized version, not the cultural version. This is podcasting for business. We're keeping it business. We're keeping it real. Okay. That's what we're doing. When I say that, that means how most companies want to know, friend, how the hell do we make money with this thing? I can show you how to do that, right? And it's actually really simple. So whether it's actually generating revenue, whether you're using it to, like we've mentioned, kind of warm up the leads, which it works really well, or you can use it to replace 90% of your content and you can essentially just podcast. So whether you want to do any of those things, those are that's really what we're going to unpack today.
I'm really pumped for this. All right. So now that we know what we're going to get and that most people know how to create content, they have no idea how to turn that content into revenue and specifically measurable revenue. And that's what I am about as a marketing strategist. There's no marketing activity that shouldn't be measured or that we couldn't track back to some revenue. Ryan, how did you get into this? I know you were a musician, you still are a musician. And why podcasting? How did you get here?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it really short because nobody really wants my backstory. If you want it, this is not the place to get it. I would just go to one of the other podcasts where I give you the whole kind of like 30-minute spiel. But to make it short, I started a podcast in 2018 because I really like Joe Rogan. That's what I thought that I was gonna do, is just have this Joe Rogan style show. So that's what I did. I made an interview show. I had the one of the biggest hip hop podcasts in New Jersey, and you mentioned music. Yeah, I mean, I make music and I make podcasts. That's my life. Try to live my dream, man. That's all I want to do. And that's all I do. So that's what I dedicated my life to. So I got into this with a local hip hop podcast that I started. And yeah, we can kind of fill in the gaps after that, but that's how I got into it.
Yeah, and I know a bit of I read a bit of your bio. And so apparently that podcast did really well, didn't it?
It depends how you look at it. I mean, it had, 10,000 downloads. It was the only hip hop podcast in New Jersey where people would say, okay, how do we want to get our artists more known? Yeah. So, I mean, successful, I guess you could call it successful, but it just depends on your definition of success. But for me, it wasn't generating any revenue. So then I changed my strategy up.
Yeah, that's where I want to go next. So you saw like you were getting people were watching you or listening to you. Was this just audio?
No, audio and video.
All right. So you started straight away with video. So at this point, like you managed to get people to listen to you, to watch you, but you realize, all right, this is not making me any money, and that's what I'm about. I'm a business owner, and I want to make money. What did you do? How did you find out the way to monetize a podcast?
Yeah, I started one for my business. So I looked at all of the things that my prospects wanted to know, and I just made a podcast out of that. And so now that's generated multiple six figures in revenue from a podcast with less than 10,000 downloads, less than 100,000 views. And so I've proved the formula that basically you don't need quantity, you need quality in your audience, if you're a B2B business. So if you're a business owner who wants to launch a podcast, you need to get this thing out of your head where you see these other founders with podcasts. These people are not founders, they're influencers. If they have millions of views, that means they have millions of dollars. And if they have millions of dollars, that means they're probably dumping tens of thousands of dollars a month into the marketing so you can get those millions of views. You don't need that. Our biggest podcast ever has 100,000 total downloads. We've had podcasts in the thousands of downloads that have generated a lot of revenue. So it's really a quality over a quantity approach that, we've taken and that we've taken for our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it works with everything content related. If we focus on virality, and we're always talking about this, and just getting a lot of views, likes, and then we're not focusing on the right metrics, and that's we're not going to get the revenue out of that, because the more virality we focus on, and the more big numbers or the typical vanity metrics we focus on, the less relevant we are to a specific audience. So we can't really solve specific problems, right? So how does LinkedIn come to the mix?
Yeah, so there's now video content is being promoted a lot on LinkedIn, and because LinkedIn's terrible, by the way. They're so bad at user experience that it like could not be worse. And I love LinkedIn. This is just honest. This is being super honest. They won't do anything about this. But what I'm saying is they roll out features, number one, that nobody wants, which is games.
Games.
Nobody wants to play a game. Okay. We're on LinkedIn, right? This is welcome to Microsoft. Nothing makes sense. Okay. But then we want pinned comments. Now we're going to take those away. It doesn't make any sense, right? Okay. So, but then finally they're like, here's a video feed, but like, we're not going to tell you who has it, who doesn't have it, how to get it, what it is, right? In terms of rolling out features, like, listen, I'm not a huge diehard Facebook fan, but at least they kind of explain what's going to happen when it's going to happen. So that's my rant about the video feed, but I'm happy that we have it. I may or may not be working with LinkedIn on something, but I can't release that publicly now, but I'm hoping I get some kind of
It may
I
or
hope I
may
can
not.
get in their ear about this. So back to podcasting, right? So yeah, video podcasting is what we're talking about here. The word podcast is a gray area now, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about the definition. You think it's one thing, your grandma thinks it's something else. Don't worry about the definitions. What we're talking about here is a podcast that can be used as audio or video, and then we take those clips and we post the clips plus the copy on top of the clips, and then that becomes the LinkedIn post. And so that we've created a formula to get those posts in front of ideal prospects to generate business, literally not even book calls, folks. I don't even want more calls. I just want more clients. So we have a framework to take them from the podcast, from those videos, all the way to becoming a client.
Like, how did you come across LinkedIn? Why did you start using LinkedIn? You already shared like how LinkedIn works in the strategy, and we'll get back to that and expand on that a little bit later. But why did you start using LinkedIn? Like, you were already podcasting when you found out about LinkedIn, and when you started growing an audience here?
I worked for a startup marketing company, which was the first company that I made a podcast for. And they realized that I could talk to people because the founder could not. And so I ended up being a better salesperson than the founder of the company. And not that I wanted to, it just was the reality, right? And so they put me on discovery calls. And since I was on discovery calls, then they were like, hey, we're going to use your LinkedIn profile to do outreach. So we're going to put you on premium, and then you're going to just reach out. You're going to do like cold outreach. So that's what I use LinkedIn for. That was in 2019. And I thought it was I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was for cold outreach. So that's what I did. And then I ended up leaving that company. And, fast forward, March 2020 is when I started this company. And I just followed Gary Vee's advice. And he was like, LinkedIn, LinkedIn, LinkedIn. And he still says it to this day. It's still a massively underrated platform. So I was forced to use it in not the way that I would suggest using it now in any sense. Obviously, outbound does work, but we kind of flipped the script and I started making content every day. So I've made over 950 posts, and that's what got me into it. I thought maybe I could get some clients, and I sent a DM to a guy with a podcast. It was like I sent probably 5 or 10 DMs, and 2 of them became clients, and I was like, wow, this is incredible.
That's crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, this happens to a lot of people. I had the same experience. I came to LinkedIn looking for something and I found something completely different. I had a business with a business partner a couple of years ago. I closed it in the beginning of 2024 and it was 100% referral business. So it was because my business partner was in network marketing. So they had this power of networking. It's something incredible. And I thought, all right, what do I know that has this effect online? And I was, wow, LinkedIn. LinkedIn could be a good platform for this. So my idea for LinkedIn was to network. I never thought it would be a distribution platform as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy what it's become too. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm with you. They need someone listening a little bit more. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, all they do is talk about. I mean, they want everybody to make this personal brand, but LinkedIn doesn't have one. So how does that make any sense,
I never thought about
right?
it that way. Yeah,
Right?
you're
There's
right.
who's the
Yeah.
person, who's the ambassador for us? Who is it? The CEO? Like, if it
I
is,
don't even
then
know
great.
who the CEO of LinkedIn is.
Want to hear a crazy LinkedIn stat? LinkedIn came out before Drop It Like It's Hot came out. Isn't that wild? So like
Yeah.
LinkedIn is pre like some of Snoop Dogg's best work, which is kind of crazy. So it's been around for so long. So yeah, I mean, I something Reed Hoffman, I think, right? I'm pretty sure is the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It rings a bell. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm like, who's the personal brand for LinkedIn? Who's telling us, hey guys, like, look, we got this video feed for you. Like somebody at LinkedIn needs to step up, or they need to step up and have some kind of ambassador for no, I wouldn't say creators because I don't really like that word, but business owners. Anyway,
Absolutely. No,
another
yeah,
rant for
yeah.
you.
Well, it's a great one. I agree. I agree. Yeah. LinkedIn, if someone's listening.
I just got a little in, like I said, I LinkedIn just reached out to me yesterday, so
All right.
it's like probably it's more for I think some kind of like learning series or something. But let me see if I can get in there. I'm gonna see how far I can push that relationship. Hopefully, I can help
Fingers
with that.
crossed. Fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes. All right, cool. So now you found LinkedIn, you started posting on LinkedIn, and now we know, and you already mentioned this, now we know LinkedIn is starting with the video feed. I think they're still kind of figuring out what they're doing. They don't really know what's going on. It seems, from my understanding and my experience in other platforms, it seems like they don't have enough content, so their video feed is a very good opportunity right now. And I see a lot of people like really struggling with creating content on and getting into video. Personally, I'm posting video on LinkedIn, and video is just clips from this, which is which is kind of what you do, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, make it simple. I mean, here's the thing. So first, let's talk about the video feed for a second. The problem with this feed is, yes, there's not that much content. There's a good amount of videos. I think they probably do have enough content. The problem is the targeting, right? What is TikTok known for? Giving you videos that you either love or you hate, and that's what keeps you on the platform. Instagram's actually pretty good at it now too. YouTube's getting there too. Again, we're dealing with LinkedIn, right? They're trying to copy an algorithm that these other companies literally made from scratch, right? From Triller to TikTok, from TikTok to Instagram Reels, from Reels to Shorts, right? And all of these companies have so many more resources. So if they nail the targeting, which they're trying, they're getting a little better at it, then people will use it. They need to make it addictive. How can you get people addicted to content about the job search? I don't know. They're
yeah,
going to have to figure that out, right? So that's the feed side. Then in terms of the content creation side, yeah, here's the options, right? You can do this for people listening. I'm just holding up my phone like I'm recording like a TikTok, right? You could have this video and you could make 30 of those 1 minute long, or you can do what we're doing and you can sit down for an hour. You can talk openly. You can talk through different subjects, and then afterwards you can do what we do and have an editing team that literally goes out. I can give this whole podcast to my editor and he's going to go pull out 5 to 10 clips. I'm going to either approve or deny each clip, and then they're going to get created into 60-second videos, and then I'm going to post them. And that's the strategy. It's really simple. So yeah, it's all about, I'm not telling you you have to do it the way we do it. I'm just telling you that you have to do something, right? Like if you truly want to differentiate yourself, then yes, I would definitely use video. And the last point I'll make there is the rest of the internet is video, not text, right? So if you want to go beyond your little nest on LinkedIn to these other platforms, then you're going to need video. So that's another reason to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that most people are thinking about repurposing the wrong way around, you know? Like, so they're trying to write text and then record a video from that text. We had Justin Vico a few weeks ago, and he's his business is about recording video for founders. So like basically he gets on a call with founders and helps them he records the video for them like a call, much like a podcast. This is something we are considering to do as well with this. So just recording a sort of a podcast and then actually giving the video content for people to use, because we are already doing it anyway. So it doesn't change much. And I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but Justin was saying, like, for me, it's much easier to record and then from there repurpose into text, not the other way around. And a lot of people are just writing scripts to record themselves, and it's much more time consuming, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's something to scripted content, right? If you're going to start a YouTube channel and you want 100,000 subscribers, then you're going to need a professional script writer, right? So it depends what you want. But the good thing about LinkedIn is you can post any video and it'll do well. It doesn't even have to be good, right? So the other platforms, it doesn't work like that. It actually does have to be good. There's a lot of competition. But no, I'm with that. And I like that method. Listen, we have people in our coaching program. I have clients who that's their service, right? They help founders create videos and they walk them through. Danny Delvecchio is one of them, one of my good friends who's also a client who was also a guest on his podcast, right? And so there's many people who run that business model or strategy. And I think it's fantastic. We empower slash coach them to record their own podcast. But at the end of the day, it's all the same. And to say, and what we're really talking about here, what I call it is a ghost podcast. So it's you're recording a podcast episode, but it doesn't actually become an episode. You just do it for the clips. I'm totally about that. I love it. Now you're not going to get any of the benefits of podcasting. Or at least you'll get maybe like 10, 20 or 30% of them. 70% of the benefits of podcasting, or maybe 50, do come from the long form. That's what gives you leverage because you have people listening in every single week. So you may not get that from just doing the one-off video style, but it's all about what you want.
Yeah, yeah. I love that we went in that direction. So before we even expand on that, I wanna unpackage this thing of podcasting. Like for me, as I said before, podcasting was an accident. I didn't plan. I'm gonna start a podcast. I We started doing audio events on LinkedIn, and then all of a sudden, as a marketer, I decided, okay, this makes no sense to just be live and then it disappears. No, no, no. This has to be published. So then it became a podcast. But like, if anybody's considering to start a podcast, and they're afraid of something, you know, like they don't know how to start, what do you have to say to them? Like, is it hard to podcast? Like, what do you need, both technologically and mindset wise, you know?
My first question is, why do you want to start a podcast? So that's going to take us a little while to unpack that because we got to figure out actually why. Not just I want to start one. That doesn't tell me why, right? So it's very simple. Simon Sinek, right? It's life coaching, business coaching, podcast coaching, all the same. Why do we want to do this? What's the purpose, right? So do you want to be the man or the woman that sits on a podcast and gets all these views and gets people in the comments going, wow, that's such good advice? Is that what you want? Great, we can do that. Or do you not care about that and you literally just want more leads in your DMs that are ideal, that are saying, where's the link to buy? Okay, we can do that too. So first we got to figure out, why do we want to do this? From that point, then we get into what we're going to do. So are you not as much of a talker? Okay, then maybe an interview show would be for you. But then you're going to showcase other people. So who are we going to showcase? And then is that going to bring us revenue? Well, we have to do that in a certain way. Do you have somebody else in your industry or maybe in your business who is a great addition to your personality and you guys can bounce back and forth. Well, that's a co-host. Great. Then we can have a co-hosted show. Pros and cons to that. Are you literally an insane person who can talk to a camera with nobody else around? Great. Then you have a solo show, right? I do all three of those because I'm crazy and this is my life and this is what I do. But it doesn't matter what the vehicle is, but we got to figure out what the right vehicle is for you. And if you're building a monster truck, it's not going to win a race, right? If you're building an off-road vehicle, it's not going to beat a Ferrari, right? So a podcast can do a ton of things, but it can only do one or two things really well. So before you go into it, you got to figure out, what do I really want to happen here? Because the main benefits of this podcast are not going to come for about 6, 12, 24, 36, 48 months. At the 2 to 4 year mark is where you're going to be really cooking. I'm not saying things aren't going to happen in the first 3 to 6 months. They are, because we build that in. We have a launch strategy that literally your post when you launch your podcast is probably going to do better than any other post you've done in the last year. But that's because we have a way to do that. We have to build in these small wins, right? But when it comes back to your question, what do you need mindset wise versus technology? Technology is the easy part. Recording is the easy part. These are all things that require no talent, just skill, right? Buy a good microphone, done. Buy a good camera, done. Hire a good editor. Yeah, there's some back and forth there for sure. But once you have your team dialed in for your podcast, you should just be the talent, right? You need to, there's enough, like you said, the people are scripting. They're not scripting. They're trying to figure out what to include. Yeah, that's the hard part. That's the part you need to focus on, is the content itself, right? So there's a reason why I can sit here on this podcast and answer this question and hit every single piece of it, is because this is what I do, right? There's no ambiguity. Like, this is what I do every single day. This is what I live, right? So you're going to be like that. Somebody on the other end who doesn't have a podcast, that's why you need to figure out what you're going to do, because you don't want that dead space. You want to be confident. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about. And the best way to do that is by talking about things that you know already in a format that people want to consume on a weekly basis. And that's what we do. So before you go into it, you want to answer that why question, and then we'll get to the what question, and then we'll get to the how. But that's another animal too.
You seem to include video in every answer. Like, is there still a space for podcasts, for audio only podcasts? Do you still advise them to someone?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind. I don't care what type of podcast you want to do. That I can help you no matter what. But it would depend on your goals. If you're like, I don't want any of the benefits that video gets you, okay, then let's do audio. Great. It's going to make your life so much easier. Audio is so much easier. Now you only need an audio editor, right? It's like, that makes everything easier. If you don't want the benefits that video gets you, then yeah, just do audio.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not that hard to do video, to be honest. I mean, we just have a camera facing us and that's it. I mean, honestly, we don't have any, we were talking about this before we went live. We don't have any fancy editing at the moment. We've been doing this for this, I think this is episode 19. So it's not a lot, but we're recording. That's it. We'll publish it. People like to see it, as opposed to just listening sometimes. And if they want to listen, that's fine. They can do that.
Yeah. You're going off what the market is telling you, right? So that's what I would suggest anybody to do, is you don't need to start a podcast. That's a huge thing, right? If you're a perfectionist, this is going to be hard for you. You're going to have to create maybe some sample podcasts, right? Maybe do one of each style, and then maybe you release it to your audience and you have them choose, right? Yeah, you want to try before you buy here.
That's cool. Are bigger than ever. I mean, they're huge right now. And you said there's a podcast launch has decreased recently, but consumption has increased a lot. And I was surprised when I was looking at the statistics, because actually the younger generations are consuming more podcasts than anyone else. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, my daughter is 11 and she listens to podcasts.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I love it.
What are the advantages of podcasting? If you had to convince someone, all right, you need to start a podcast, I think this is for you. What are the advantages for a business, not for not just for a fun show, you know?
Well, podcasts are the best form of marketing, number one form. They're the most efficient meaning that you could literally only have a podcast, which we've proved, and have no other marketing, and you could generate all of your leads from that. Right now, you have to do it in a specific way, but it's kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. A lot of companies are trying to do a lot of different things. They're trying to podcast, YouTube, email, inbound, outbound, LinkedIn, Facebook, IG, Twitter. Oh my God, we got 1,000 things. Like that doesn't work. If you just do one thing really well, it works pretty well, right? So that's why we stay in our lane here, right? So, okay, I got to convince you to start podcasting. It's pretty easy. Do you want to sit down for 30 minutes a week to an hour? No? Okay, then don't podcast. But if yes, then great. Okay, cool. All you got to do is sit. You want to have somebody else on there who like knows some of the things you know but also has a different personality than you? Okay, great. Yeah, then cool. Then you got like what we're doing right now. One on one side, one on the other side. Okay. Cool. Then we're going to make this into an actual show. It's going to be your own little show, right? You're going to have music, you're going to have intro, outro. It's going to be cool, graphics, right? And you get to do this, you get to like enjoy doing it, get to just talk about what you're already doing. And then that's going to bring prospects, clients to you. Yes, that's what I'm telling you it's going to do. Now, on top of that, you got email list content, you got LinkedIn content, you got blog content, you have the potential for affiliates and sponsors if you want to go in that direction. You've now created an audience of people who is sitting there every week listening to you, right? And if that's not appealing, then great, don't go in this direction. But the audio side and the content side, and then you also have the entire world of YouTube if you want to go in that direction too. So like I said, it's the best form of marketing because it's extremely dynamic, but also extremely efficient. If you want to do something for 30 minutes a week that literally answers your prospects' questions and then answers your clients' questions at the same time, right? And you're building this community, right? Like there's nothing, even an email list doesn't even barely do that, right? So that's my pitch for podcasting.
That's awesome. I mean, it is. That's what kind of what I'm doing, and I'm still sort of figuring this out. But I'm recording one weekly show. We're doing it live on LinkedIn. From it, I cut some shorts. I post them on LinkedIn the next week. I email my email list, was sort of a newsletter, if you want to call it so, with a bit of a summary of what was spoken about. We do post a blog post, which is actually there's not extra effort to it. It's AI. It's an AI summary. The thing is that we use a prompt that like use the host and the guest's words to summarize it, and it becomes sort of, it's not very artificial because it's what we spoke about, right? So there's a lot of content coming from this 1 hour of recording alone, which is, it's quite incredible.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about AI for a second, we've created our own GPTs, using ChatGPT Pro, where we can actually train it to create the posts that go along with the clips, right? So I will
That's
give
awesome.
it, yeah, so I'll give it the episode, I will give it the posts, and then I will give it the transcripts of the clips for multiple episodes and train it on why did I include this but leave this out, right? And I will train it to know as much as possible to the highest extent we can why I wrote what I wrote in addition to that clip. And now once it has that in the memory, I can give it the episode and I can give it the clips, and then it can go ahead and write all the posts. And now I have all these post formats 90% done. I just go and unchat GPT it and then poof, right? So there's a lot of ways also to use AI here to make these processes, like you mentioned, even easier.
That's brilliant. I've actually worked on something similar, not specifically for the podcast, but yeah, that's amazing. I hadn't thought of it, but you have everything figured out when it comes to podcasting, even the AI part of it. It's awesome.
Well, we're trying. I mean, that side I'm not an expert, but I'm learning. And you know what? You got to hire people. You got to hire people who know that side, right?
Yeah.
Better than I do, but hey, we're learning.
Yeah. I want to touch on the specifics of marketing here. There's this most people on LinkedIn have heard of the marketing funnel. They probably don't understand exactly how it works, but it's levels of awareness, right? So the top of the funnel, where you bring people, where people become aware that you exist, right? Then there's the middle of the funnel, where they start to learn more about what you do and how you can benefit them. And then there's this bottom of the funnel, where it's just basically deciding that you are the one to help them, right? And that's kind of how I titled this episode, because this is my understanding from what you do, is that you kind of create an inbound lead warming machine, right? You have that content going out on LinkedIn. People have a little bit of a feel about what you do. Then they come closer, they start listening to your podcast. Like, I mean, they're watching videos of you and you talking about your expertise once a week. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. How does this work, like at the end? How do people, do they reach out to you on LinkedIn? How does they, do they be actually become leads at the end
Do
for
you
you?
want me to start at the top and move my way down, or just focus on the end?
Yeah, please describe your whole process. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
So, yes, what you said is that's how we look at it too. It's 3 steps, but 5 stages. I won't go through all the details, just not relevant. But really, it is top of the funnel is they don't know who you are and they don't need the thing, right? The middle of the funnel is they know who you are, they still don't really need the thing. The bottom of the funnel is they know who you are, they need the thing, and they're either going to go with you, they're going to go with a different vendor, or they're going to do nothing, right? So that's how the funnel works. Top of the funnel, you have podcast episodes, corresponding podcast episodes, and then clips from those episodes, and then posts from those episodes, right? Throughout the entire funnel, each step. Like I said, I expand it into 3 steps and 5 stages, but that's just how we do it. So as you go through, the prospects do not have to listen to the podcast. That's where a lot of this goes wrong. Many of them don't listen to my podcasts. Many of them do, but I'd say probably most of them don't. But they watch it in clips because I designed this podcast to do this. I designed it to be a YouTube video that's 8 minutes. I designed it to be a podcast episode that's 15. I designed it to be 30 to 60-second clips that fill out my entire funnel. So at the top of the funnel, I'm going to have a certain podcast episode, right? It's going to be how to start a podcast for your business, right? For example, the middle of the funnel will be, do I start a podcast or a YouTube channel? The bottom of the funnel will be, here's a client interview. Here's a case study. Here's what one of our clients just did before and after, right? And so now we're at the bottom, right? They've gone through that whole thing. They know, all right, cool. Ryan's cool. He knows what he's talking about and he has clients and he has results. Am I going to hire him? They'll typically reach out with a DM and say, I'm interested in podcasting. I'm interested in your process or your methods, right? Then I will say, awesome, great. Thanks for connecting with me. I'm going to send you, if you want, a Loom video of my proposed strategy, and we can move to a call after that if it makes sense. They say, okay, yeah, great. Then I send a 3 to 8 minute Loom video talking through what we're going to do with them and the pricing. Then from there, I say at the end of the video, if you're ready to start in the next 30 days, book this call that's attached to the Loom video. There's a button that says book now. And if you're not ready to start within 30 days, then let me know in the DMs and we'll go from there. Right. So what I'm trying to get here is a start date or a deposit. And again, no calls. I have done no calls. The ideal formula is the end is a confirmation call. So they already got the pricing, they already got the Loom, and I already got the timing. And then so when we do book a call, the call isn't what's up with podcasting? Like, how does this even work? It's literally, okay, when are we going to start? Is this the package that's right for me? And then what's our ideal duration? And so that's how it works.
So, in other words, you don't waste time on discovery calls or even trying to close prospects on a sales call. You actually, it's just the closure. It's the call is already to book them.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. I'm trying to eliminate discovery calls entirely by the combination of podcasting and Loom videos. I'm actively doing it right now, and it's working. I do understand that typically more calls equals more revenue. I totally get that, right? Like it's the Alex Hormozy effect of like make your calendar open for 16 hours a day. People can book whenever they want to book, and then you're going to make more money. Great. I don't think business has to work like that. I don't want to take another 500 discovery calls because that's how many I've booked from LinkedIn. And I love it. It's great. But if I can eliminate them, it's not for me, man. This is for the people on the other side. They don't want to sit on discovery calls either, right? I
Yeah.
don't. If I'm going to hire an email marketer, I want you to just DM me everything and then I'll just say when I want to buy, right? So there obviously is a need for discovery calls and there is a need for calls. Our entire coaching program is calls, right? The done with
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
side. So we're going to do a lot of that. But if I can embed a lot of this process into the pre-process, into the sales process, basically embedding discovery into the sales process, that's really what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, that's what I do through email, right? So basically, I create the email systems that do all of that. So with the email sequences and all of that, that actually then get you on a call where the prospect is already it's a warm lead. So basically, you are doing all of that through the podcasting, and that's an incredible system. I had never thought of it that way.
And imagine matching it with the email. Now you got the ultimate power play.
Yeah, yeah. Um, we have a very interesting question here. That so basically, how can I come up with content for my podcast? And I know you said it before. Like, first of all, you need to know what your podcast, what are your goals, right? Like, I understand talk about what you're already doing, but can you expand on what that looks like, please?
Yeah. So if you have clients, talk about what you're doing with the clients. You don't even have to name them, right? You just say, this, me and my client worked through this today. We accomplished this, this, and this. This is because we're leading to the ultimate goal of this, right? So that's one way to do it, where you literally just record all your calls. I would say you want an easy hack, record all your calls with a note taker, take all those transcripts, put it in the chat GPT and have chat GPT come up with the ideas for you, right? If you can't come up with the ideas, that should never be a problem, right? So now you need a framework to create consistent ideas. I get all of my ideas from being a guest on podcasts, what I'm doing right now, sales calls, discovery calls, and coaching calls. I have ideas for the rest of my life, right? If you want another easy hack, go on YouTube, type in something that you do. If it's, say, it's an SEO company, type in SEO strategy. Look at all of the videos on SEO strategy and then steal one of their ideas and make it for yourself, right? Just do it in your way, right? It's the emulation first. Yeah, when I came on LinkedIn, almost 5 years ago now, trying to promote these things, I just talked about what I was doing and I just talked about podcasting. Take the transcript of this, watch this video, and then it's like, all right, cool, just take what we're talking about, right? But there's ideas everywhere, right? There's more ideas than there are people times a billion. Like, it's unlimited ideas. Your mind creates like 50,000 of them a day. So you just got to know how to take them in. Don't worry about them. That's the thing. The audience is telling you if the idea is good. It's not up to you if it's good, right? So your job is the facilitator of the idea. You take the idea, you match up content with it, and then you push it out to the world. And then the world says, all right, this idea is either good, or this idea sucks, or this idea is neutral. And then you take that feedback. For me, it's 960 posts. I look at the top 100 posts. I iterate off of those top 100 ideas. And again, see, that's like, just in this last 2.5 minutes, there's like 5 ways to have unlimited ideas.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. I mean, to summarize, so it's what you do. You already have an expertise. There's something you do. It needs to be relevant. Whatever content you're creating, doesn't matter if it's a podcast or whatever it is. It needs to be relevant to your audience. And if you want them to become clients, then relevance is everything. Now, you're talking about what you do, you're taking notes about what you do, and then you see how it resonates with your audience. I mean, when I first came on LinkedIn, I spent 6 months just trying to find out what people wanted to, how people understood my words. Like, sometimes I would write about email marketing, I would post something, and then I would look at it and crickets, and like people completely misunderstood what I was trying to say, and it's like, okay, this doesn't work. But that's how we find out what works and what doesn't, isn't it? Like, just paying attention, listening to them.
Well, the thing is, it's always your fault. Always 100% of the time. Never their fault. Ever. No matter what. Right? It's like,
Absolutely.
and sure, is it their fault sometimes? Yeah. But you can't think like that. You have to go, well, The market did what the market did. Let me adjust, right? It's like all business is adjusting to the market, right? That's really all it is if you had to bring it down, right? Boil it down to like one thing, right? So marketing is no different. It's just adjusting, right? I mean, look at perfect example. Look at Jaguar, right? Look at Jaguar's rebrand that they just did. You know how many people in the comments are pissed? You know how many people I think it looks terrible. You know how many more Jaguars are going to sell now because so many people are mad? You know how many people are going to hate buy Jaguars? You know how many people own Teslas because they know people don't like Teslas? Like people are that petty, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
marketing is chess, not checkers, right? At its highest level, it's chess, right? And so that's when you start to get into this. The deeper you get, the more you realize that, damn, these people are playing chess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. So basically, it's a podcast does a full funnel content strategy. It does. It does more than
I
that,
have a YouTube
actually.
video coming out, by the way, in probably I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That everything I just said to you, Fran, is like with in a video with diagrams and everything. So I will have that literally be released to the public so you could see it and copy it for yourself.
So go follow you, Ryan, on YouTube, and find out. Oh, that's a good timing. Usually, we do this at the end, but it's a good moment to for you to share with people where they can find you. What's your YouTube channel? Obviously on LinkedIn.
Yeah, everything's my name. Just Google Ryan R. Sullivan, put the R in there because there's a lot of copycats. There's a lot of people trying to be the Ryan Sullivan, but I'm been fighting for my whole life to be the Ryan Sullivan. So I'm trying to get in there, but I got the R. So Ryan R. Sullivan, just Google that, YouTube that, LinkedIn that, just type it in the search bar, you'll find me.
Awesome. We'll also leave the links in the show notes so you can find him there. So basically, subscribe and be ready for the release of that video. If
And a bonus if you can find my Instagram too.
All right, let's go with another question. What program do you use to make your cool visuals on your videos?
I don't know. I don't make them. So I
Yeah,
probably
Ryan,
Premiere. I don't know. I don't edit, man.
he
I
has a
just do the
huge team
talking.
of editors.
Yeah, we have 7 people on the team. I mean, here's the thing. I'm an audio nerd, so I can get in the weeds more with that. When it comes to video, everything's been democratized now. There's no union for video editors that's fighting for better wage for video editors. Now, is that bad? Yes, in ways that is bad. But the pro of it is there's no set price. There's editors that charge $100 that are way worse than my editors who charge 20, right? So it's not about the dollar amount. It's number one, it's about, are you going to become a video editor? No. If you're not a
Yeah,
full-time video editor, what's the point,
no, you
right?
can't do video editing unless you're a full-time video editor.
Yeah, and
Nowadays, it's impossible.
you could do the basics, right? I'm not saying don't learn it. Like figure out how hard it is. That's what I'm advising you to do. Then you go hire somebody and you have it's dude, it's this is fundamentals of business. Do you know how many editors I've sampled? Hundreds. And I have 7. So that's the game. But when it comes to platform, literally program platform doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. I can do some basic video editing. I never use the complex software,
They
but
want it. DaVinci Resolve is the one that I used to use. That's the one I know how to use, which is free. That's why I used it. It is great. If you want it, if you really want to get into it, yeah, DaVinci Resolve is pretty good. I will plug that.
you need to find a video editor for yourself if you want, if you're serious about this. And it's not expensive, like Ryan said. It's
No
there are
matter what, it's not. That's the thing. Like you don't even have to spend. Also, if you train people, you could get it down really cheap because you're literally showing them you want, like what type of videos you want, right? And also from a video editing standpoint, from an editor's standpoint, from an employee or freelancer standpoint, if you're going to get them consistent work, that's like creme de la creme of freelancing, right? So then you got an editor for life. Oh my god, all my guys and girls, dude, they're with me for life. My team's with me for life. Like I'm doing it for life. They're with me for like until I die or it all shuts down somehow. Like I want to keep them forever. So if you have that mind too, you can really attract some great people.
All right. So you described the whole funnel, and now we know like how to record the podcast and use this in all stages of the funnel, how to make this bring clients to us. And then you described as well at the end, like when you're creating content, doesn't matter what content it is, put it out there, listen to the feedback and see how that goes. On this note, how do you measure these KPIs? So key performance indicators. How do you know what's performing, what's not? Like, where do you look at this? Do you look to the podcast directly? Do you look at LinkedIn at each stage? How do you know?
Mm, yeah. This is a great question. I'll start at the top, which is if you want to know how good your marketing is, this is where you start. Top line revenue divided by marketing spend. Done. It's over. Come up with a percentage, whatever you want, right? Or just look at the numbers. I mean, you go, all right, we spent top line revenue 2 million, marketing spend 300,000. Okay, then we look at next year. Top line revenue 2.8 million, marketing spend 320,000. More efficient, right? It's that simple. So if you want the business version, how to calculate ROI, that's how you do it, or one way to do it. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper, not a numbers guy. You're asking a marketer. So that's one way. And then now, okay, for LinkedIn and podcasting, we have to look at organic content as an entire ecosystem all together, right? You
Yeah,
have to choose the KPIs, right? The KPIs that I do not optimize for are like impressions, likes, comments. I'm saying the number. What I want is the quality of impressions, the quality of likes, the quality of comments. Okay. So
relevance.
that's what I'm looking at. I'm also looking at it used to be booked calls, but now we don't book calls, right? So now it's Loom video to closed client, right? So
Yeah,
that's since that Loom video, now I'm not going, a client can become a client without a call. So I'm going DM to Loom video to closed. And that's what I'm looking at, right? And now if you want the sauce, if you want really the behind the scenes that I don't even talk about, that I've actually never talked about, is what the system we just built, which we'll probably release this publicly eventually. But what we do is we take everybody who engaged with posts during the week and we export all of those people and we have
yeah,
automation set up. Now this doesn't break any of the rules because it's only name and LinkedIn, URL. So if you get into deeper automations than that, you could get into getting banned territory. Anyway, I export that. I now have a list in my CRM of all the people who engaged. I can also set triggers to tell me how many times they engaged, how long they've been following me, all this data that LinkedIn actually has. Now, I will then go through, and if I have a VA, I will have a VA go through and pull out the people that fit one of our customer personas. Those people will get a 2 to 5 DM sequence that leads to that Loom video, right? And so that's not the KPIs answer, but it's just a how do I do it answer. You need to have a system for capturing these leads and bringing them into the funnel.
yeah.
They're not just going to come in. Now they will just come in. People who are really, really hot will just come in. It happens every day to me. I get like 2 to 5 inbound messages a day that are just like, "Hey, I want to start a podcast."
So everything happens to you. Sorry to interrupt. Everything happens to you in the DMs, right?
For the most part, yeah, because I don't have I don't have the discovery call public anymore. So I'm not saying this is the way. This is just what we're doing right now. Yeah, but for sure, DMs are where it's at. Yeah, 100%.
An interesting way to automate that instead of the DMs is actually getting them a lead magnet and getting them to subscribe to your email list.
Yes, but let me say something. So I had a CEO of a top 20 Shopify store who his name's I won't say his last name, but his name's Curtis. Really nice guy. I've been commenting on his post for a year. I've no agenda. I knew he could have a great podcast, but I have no agenda, right? I don't reach out, I don't DM him, nothing. After a year, 2 years of commenting on posts, he DMs me because I don't have a discovery call. He was like, "Hey, the only call you have on your profile is 90 minutes. I don't have 90 minutes. How do I talk to you?" 150 million a year they're doing, right? Which is pretty ideal for somebody like what we're doing, right? He comes to me, we ended up booking that call the same day, right? He's not going to sign up for a lead magnet. So you have right? The CEO of a $150 million company does not need your 5 steps to blah 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 email lead magnet. I'm not saying we don't do lead magnets, we do, but you need to adapt the marketing and sales process to the type of person you're trying to attract to.
No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, there are lead magnets and lead magnets. Maybe the CEO of that company won't do that, but they might even watch a video on a case study, for example.
Or they might actually download a lead magnet, like if it is very specific for sure. So to
Yeah,
your
yeah,
point,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you could have multiple. Is that what you suggest, Fran? Would you say do you have like having like 3 to 5 lead magnets, or just focus on one at a time, or what do you think people should do?
No, I usually focus at one at a time because all your content is going to point in that direction. Also, that I
Hmm.
mean, obviously, that depends on the complexity of your business, and you said it yourself. You have more than one persona. In that
Yeah,
case, yeah, in that case,
you could have a niche specific lead magnet. So I could have a lead magnet for financial advisors who are starting podcasts. I could have a lead magnet for law firms who are starting podcasts. So I could have niche specific lead magnets, but then I probably won't be plastering all 3 of them on one post.
of
Yeah.
course, that's the thing. You have to consider how you can then advertise the lead magnet itself, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to mention it in your podcast? Then it needs to be more or less generic, right?
Yes.
But then your DMs are not going anywhere. So whoever doesn't download your lead magnet and doesn't subscribe to your email list, they can still DM you, right? What I
Yes.
usually say to people is, by not having an inbound strategy like this through a lead magnet getting people to your email list, what you're doing is basically you're kind of avoiding introverts because you're hoping that people DM you. And introverts, there's a few personalities who will never DM you.
This is why you need to hire somebody like us and then also somebody like Fran, because I'm not gonna that's so true. But that's the problem with marketing, is we think in terms of ourselves, which is obviously why you have to hire outside people. Oh,
Yeah,
such
of
a
course.
great point, man. That is such a great point on the introvert side. 100%.
Yeah. No, but that's good. But I like it. I mean, and I'm also trying to open myself a bit more to the DM side of things because I haven't done it. I've been I don't have a book a call link either. So if you want to book a call with me, you have to opt into to my email list, and then from there you will receive automated sequences that eventually you will get a. Do you want to book a call with me in an email? You know.
Nice. Well, that's good. Then you know exactly where they're coming from too. So I think we're going in
Yeah.
that direction as well.
Yeah, it makes sense because it filters them more, it warms them up more. So sort of like I look at the email list a lot like in the steps of the funnel, a lot like the podcast itself, right?
Mhm.
Because the podcast is worming people in, and the emails they will be receiving in their inbox from you are doing more or less the same thing.
Yeah, and you know what too? I wish that this wasn't the case, but it's just, as you can tell, like I try to deal in reality only and not be tied to the things that we do, in the sense of like, I'll say it like this. There are going to be podcast listeners who never buy anything because they're just people who listen to podcasts and they don't do anything, right? But that's the same for everything. There's people who read books on how to do carpentry and they just don't make a shelf. Yeah. So it's like you're always going to have that. What I'm saying is the podcast is not everything, right? It is the holy grail of marketing, no doubt. But yes, you want to have these other systems in place for that lead capture, because you can't just you can rely on the podcast for 90% of your marketing, but then the lead capture side has to have multiple ways to enter the funnel.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and last week we spoke about inbound versus outreach. Dana's business is focused 100% on outreach, and what I do is the opposite. So we were actually talking
Mm,
about this. For most people, it doesn't make sense to start an inbound system. It doesn't make sense to put out a lead magnet. The effort that they will have into trying first studying their audience, understanding exactly what they need, putting it out there, and then they probably have, if they're just starting out, they have a very small audience, so the numbers will not make sense to them. So it's much easier to just start with outreach if that's where you are
yeah,
right
I mean,
now,
I
you
don't
know.
work with new businesses, but
Yeah, yeah.
if I were, yes, That's how I got my first clients. Like I said, I DM'd like 20 or 30 people, got like 2 clients out of it. That is going to happen. But on the other hand, if you can't sell to a small audience, you definitely can't sell to a big one.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's that too.
Yeah. But the outreach will help you learn how to sell to your specific,
Yeah,
learn
it's
more about
mandatory. If
your
you have a
client. Yeah.
small audience, you can literally message everybody in that audience. I can't. And I'm not trying to say like, look
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
me, my big audience. Like, no, like I can't message 20,000 people. Sorry, can't. It's impossible. So
Yeah.
if you have a small audience, this is way easier because you actually know. You could literally go, well, there's Jeff again. Like, it's been 2 months. I only have like 400 people who are ideal. So like, you just go down the list and you can message everybody, right? It's the Alex Ramosi effect where he's like, or Gary Vee. He's like, you should hire everybody. He's like, unless you have 15,000 employees, you should be involved in the entire process, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's different stages of the growth, and this is going to be the closure of this show. So basically, the way I look at this is, and it's before even the inbound and the email marketing, I'm first and foremost, I always say this, a marketing strategist, and there's different strategies for different businesses at different stages, right? So if you're just starting out, outreach is your best friend. The next step is probably an inbound system, having an email, starting email marketing. And I would say, as a business, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, then the podcast is probably the next step.
Yes, yes. 100. I would say, I don't never said it like this before, but let podcasting be the last big thing that you do with your marketing. Like let that be the top of the pyramid, the hardest part to top off that marketing pyramid because it's such a big boy activity, right? It's such an advanced, it's like a Navy SEAL of marketing, right? So I'm with you.
That was a great quote there. Let podcast be the last marketing activity you do.
Damn, that might turn into something bigger than just this conversation.
That's really good. All right, we're at the 1 hour mark, and we got to wrap up. Um, you already mentioned how people can find you. So Ryan R. Sullivan everywhere, basically.
You got it. And like I said, if you can find my Instagram, DM me. More power to you. You're going to see some interesting things.
Awesome. I don't have Instagram, so I can't find you there. But regardless, you'll find all those links in the show notes. This was amazing. Thank you very much for tuning in. Ryan, it was an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you.
Thank you,
Thanks a
friend.
lot,
Yeah,
man.
seriously, man. A lot of good ideas from me here. I think we're showing them and telling them at the same time, and it doesn't get better than that. So thank you so much for having me. I'm excited